Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Thank you so much for joining us today. Welcome to today's webinar, our second in this series titled Partners in Development. My name is Penina Lam with CGAP, and I'll be your moderator for today's session. I wish to thank you for making the time to join us for what I hope will be an interesting and informative presentation for you. On behalf of CGAP and Gateway Academy teams, I'm delighted and looking forward to your engagement throughout the hour. I also want to thank you and for our two panelists who are joining me today, Josephine and Kweku, welcome. The topic guiding us in this hour is how Gateway Academy facilitates financial inclusion partnerships, and we're specifically looking at the demand side. So just to cover a few logistics to help us through the session, this is an audio broadcast, and your microphones will remain muted through the entire hour. And should you wish to ask questions during the webinar, please use the chat box that's located on the right-hand side of your screen, and you may submit your questions at any time during the presentation. And we're really looking forward to your engagement. And this webinar is recorded, and it will be emailed to you, all the attendees and registrants in the coming week. So it's now my pleasure to welcome our webinar speakers for today. And you will be hearing from Kweku Akwa. Kweku leads learning, talent and development at Fidelity Bank in Ghana. And he'll be offering us insights on how financial institutions like Fidelity Bank have partnered with Gateway Academy and how they're using digital learning as a capacity building intervention for their staff. And Josephine Kibe, my colleague, who is an operations officer at Gateway Academy and CGAP, is the market development lead, and she will tell us more about how Gateway Academy facilitates partnerships on the demand side. And she'll be sharing some of the lessons that we've learned in the last couple of years working with partners. I will be your moderator throughout the session. So I'll quickly go through what you can expect to take away today. And I'll start with a brief overview of CGAP and Gateway Academy, and hopefully that will provide some of those who are new. Josephine will tell us the why, what, and how of partnerships. She'll explore some of the driving forces that are fueling the demand for digital learning in financial institutions, and particularly we'll be looking at sub-Saharan Africa because that's been the context of our experience, and our criteria for partner selection, and some of the insights on partnerships based on our journey so far. Kweku will follow her, and he'll talk about the Fidelity Bank experience in particular, some of the lessons they've learned with partnership efforts with Gateway Academy, some of the challenges and emerging opportunities that they have experienced. Please remember that we'll have a Q&A at the end, and so I welcome you to continue to engage with us. Just a little bit of context in terms of Gateway and CGAP. You'll notice that partnerships lie at the core of our foundations and operations. A little bit about our vision and mission, as you can see on the screen here. CGAP in itself is a global partnership of more than 30 leading organizations that seek to advance financial inclusion. And we envision a world where everyone has access to and can use the financial services they need to improve their lives. And aligned with that is the mission to improve the lives of the poor people through innovative strategies, and Gateway Academy is one of the CGAP's projects. And here is a snapshot of Gateway Academy. You'll notice that Gateway Academy in itself is a project of CGAP in partnership with MasterCard Foundation. And Gateway Academy's goal is to improve staff performance in a rapidly changing financial inclusion space. And we do so by connecting financial institutions with leading training providers to offer learning solutions. And I welcome you to the Gateway Academy website to learn more. So what do we actually do? As a market facilitator in the financial inclusion space, Gateway Academy works on the demand side with financial institutions like Fidelity Bank, that's featured here today, And we also work on the supply side with training service providers. That was the focus of our last webinar for those who were able to join us. And now let me briefly note the key components of our work. First, we have the online learning hub, platform that's a curated market for staff members and institutions to learn. We continue also to offer capacity building to our training providers. And lastly, but not least, we build on research, and we're constantly building a community of practice and looking at diverse avenues for sharing knowledge via webinars such as this one to disseminate lessons learned. And some of you may be familiar with where we work. We've obviously been very active in the sub-Saharan Africa market in 7 different countries. These are initial focus countries: Ghana, Kenya, Malawi, Rwanda, Tanzania, Uganda, and Zambia. And in these focus countries, we've been engaged with partners also outside of sub-Saharan Africa to provide content and other much needed services. And Josephine will now walk us through how we've engaged with the different partners to date, and she will share some of those lessons from our partnership journey so far. So allow me now to pass on the presentation to Josephine, who will share with us those insights. So Josephine, over to you. I'm making you presenter. Thank you.
We do. And as we move forward, I will be looking at the partnerships, the what, how, and the lessons that we have learned so far, and we continue to learn. So in terms of the partners' realities, and partners in this context means the financial service providers who, engage in our training. These are the realities that they face. They have this young talent that is coming from their undergraduate studies that want to get into the banking and microfinance industry, but they do not have the necessary skills to be productive. So they have this young talent that is fueling this demand for learning. There's competition in this market for skilled or trained talent. We have had so many times that there's a lot of turnover that happens in the financial service provider space. There's a lot of poaching of skilled staff members, and therefore this presents a huge cost for the financial service providers. There are those priority content areas for specific regions in Africa. You'll find that in East Africa, digital financial services has advanced, but in central and southern part of Africa, they would want to get this content, and therefore becomes a priority for them in order for them to remain relevant and competitive in the financial inclusion space. There is limited resources to invest, and this is for the microfinance institutions that have a limited budget, but also for the bigger institutions that deal with the bottom of the pyramid. They have very many staff members who they might not necessarily have the finances to take them for training. But there is also a willingness to pay for digital learning, and it's because of the benefits that come from learning online. These are our demand side actors. So we have the learners who actually undertake the learning. They want to be able to progress in their careers. And we have the financial institutions who are the managers who would want to have, skilled workers in order for them to remain competitive. Sometimes there's a mismatch in terms of what content is relevant for each of them. You would go to a staff member and they say, for instance, I think I should engage in credit management, but the manager feels like they should, maybe learn more about being a leader. So sometimes there's that disconnect, but basically for both the learners and the financial institutions, the main aim is to improve skills and therefore become competitive. So we undertook a demand study when we started this project 3 years back, and the main reason why we did that was to get an insight into sub-Saharan Africa in terms of what are the skills they need, what is their technology capabilities, and are they willing to pay for this training? In terms of the skills, 3 major areas came out. We have technical skills, and here would have things like portfolio analysis, credit management, risk and analysis, and things like that. When it came to leadership and management, things like negotiation, self-leadership, communication, were most relevant. And in terms of industry knowledge, we had areas such as agricultural finance, SME finance, small business management and things like that. And this demand study gave us a foundation of what content areas we should start thinking about when we started this project. So why do we partner? Why do we look for partners in terms of financial service providers? It's because we want to create an impact. We are in the financial inclusion space, and we believe that through training, using a platform, we will be able to create an impact on financial inclusion, because the financial service providers will get the skills that can help them serve the bottom of the pyramid effectively and efficiently. We also want to get the reach. We know that financial institutions can capture a huge audience, and therefore this solution would meet their needs, and therefore would be able to reach a significant audience. And also we want to be able to create sustainability in terms of training, create a lasting impact for those FSPs or financial service providers that target the financially excluded. We want to have a solution for them that is cost effective, and this is through our platform. So we've been in existence again for the last 2 to 3 years, since 2016, and these are the phases that we've gone through. We've had the alpha phase, where we had 100 learners and 5 financial institutions, which they tested 5 courses. We then moved on to the demo stage. In the demo stage, we started testing on prices, the willingness to pay components. And here we had 100 learners from 8 financial institutions and 5 countries. And now in the beta stage, we already had our pricing structure in place. We had our tiered packages, and over 300 learners have gone through our courses. And we have currently in the platform, we have 8 courses, but we have some that are on the pipeline. So these are our demand side partners. We have made it a conscious decision to be able to be represented in those 7 countries that my colleague Penina looked at. And going forward, we are going to advance into other countries in West Africa and South and to Central Africa, and also to the rest of the world. So what was our criteria for choosing our institution partners when we began this project? Number one, we wanted to have partners that have an industry influence. So partners that stand out in the industry, that are leaders in the industry that others follow. So that was important for us. Also, we wanted to have partners that can have a regional presence. As Penina said, in the beginning, our project focused on 7 African countries, and that's Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, Malawi, Zambia, and Ghana. And what we wanted to do was to have an institution that can hit 2 or 3 countries, and therefore would be able to get this regional presence. Also, what was important to us was partners who are willing to invest and work with us, because there's a lot of resources that are used in terms of the phases that we have looked at, in terms of time, infrastructure and other things. And therefore, we are looking for partners who are willing to test and invest with us. And also, what was important for us was do those FSPs have working relationships with particular training service providers? So this was important for us because we were starting an online delivery training method, and therefore this would make the process easier if they were already working with reputable training service providers. So these are our supply side partners, and my colleague will post a link whereby you can learn more about what they offer. But we have Action, CGAP. Also, as our colleagues have written 2 courses. We have the Helix Institute based out of Nairobi, PhD Development, and Strathmore Business School. So what are the insights? What have we learned so far from working with our partners? Number one, it's a people-driven process. We have learned that it is important to keep the customer at the center. And this presentation looks at the demand side, so the financial service providers. We see them as our clients. And therefore, right from the beginning, when this project started, even when we didn't have a platform, we involved the financial service providers by having a co-creation and co-collaboration event in Nairobi. We've learned also through, engaging with the partners that it's a relationship-driven process whereby we are open to learning, both from our side and also from the financial service providers, as they look at ways in which they can deliver cost-effective training solutions in their organizations. Number two, we've learned that partnership building demands flexibility and adaptability. Again, we had to be open to learning. This was a new field for us. It's a new way in which learning in financial inclusion is, conducted in this market, and therefore we had to learn to be flexible. We had also to learn that people move. You might engage with a partner, with a contact in an FSP who later on moves to another financial, institution, and therefore we had to be open to, working with a different person or even working with a new FSP where that person moved to. And also the fact that we are based in DC and our market is in Africa. There's different, time zones. We had to be, flexible to adjust to the time zones, and also to know that, realistically, what happens in the field might not be what we had planned. Number three, what we've learned is that communication is key. That we have to manage expectations. That what we promise to the financial service provider must be realistic. That we have to keep this open, key communication between us and the financial service providers, so that there's no there's no miscommunications, or we not promise what we cannot be able to deliver. We also have learned that the partnership must be a purpose-driven process. Why? Because it involves time, it involves money, and it involves resources. We, from the very beginning, our purpose was to deliver this online learning, and also for the FSP, this was also what they wanted to do in terms of, having a cost-efficient way of training. And therefore, we had to be very purpose-driven in terms of what we want and in what time we are going to achieve this. Also, partnerships take time. There's a lot of bureaucracies that happen, both from the financial service provider's perspective and also from ourselves. There are structures both in all the institutions, and therefore we have learned that this is a process that takes time. Also, the fact that you might not be talking to the right contact. It might take you 1 year to get to the person who is the decision maker. Also, takes a long time for us to be able to get things in place. And number 5 and the last, 6 and the last is that organizations' values, resources, and leadership matter. We have found that when you deal with management, when the CEO is on board with what we are doing, then it becomes an easier process to do testing, to be able to sign up participants for courses, and they are committed in terms of their resources in making this process work. Also, organizational culture is very important. We found that for those financial service providers that have HR and learning development managers who are willing to test new ways in which training can be delivered, the process becomes much easier. But for those institutions, especially those maybe financial service providers that have a public sector component in them, it becomes a much harder process because the culture again is different. So this is a picture that depicts how we work with partners. This was a co-creation and co-curation event that we had in Paris last year. Basically, this just shows, our engagement with our partners, the fact that communication is key, that we have to keep on, making sure that we meet their expectations. One of our partners who has been very instrumental to what we've done is Fidelity Bank in Ghana. And Fidelity has helped us all the way since the beginning of the project when we were doing the alpha testing and all the way into the beta. And even now they have signed up, for a tier for their for their staff members to be able to take courses in Gateway Academy. And we are very happy to have Kweku, who has been instrumental in for us in moving this process forward. So Kweku, I'm going to turn over the presentation to you. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Josephine, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone who has joined us. And first of all, I want to thank the Gateway Academy team, Josephine, Tom, Penina, Christy, and the rest of the team for the wonderful journey that we've had over the past year or two. So I'm going to categorize my presentation in three parts as quickly as possible, and then we can take some questions from participants. I'm sure a lot of you have a lot of questions that you want to throw at us for us to see how best we can all benefit as well. So first of all, we'll just introduce you to who we are as a bank, Fidelity Bank, and then the part two, we'll look at changing the approach. Then we look at the Fidelity, CGAP, Gateway Academy partnership so far, what accounted for us coming on board on this journey, and then what we seek to achieve out of this experience that we are on. Then obviously with everything that we do, you are going to face some opportunities that will come your way and also face some challenges that will come your way. How do you deal with both situations? It's really important, and then we'll share with you a few of them, and then we can pick up further discussions subsequently after the webinar, and then we can see how best we can help others who want to embark on this journey as well. So starting off with part one is who we are as a bank. As a bank, we been in operation as a full-fledged commercial bank in Ghana since 2006, but prior to that, we were a discount house established in 1998 in Ghana. We've moved from one branch to currently a branch network of 75 across all regions in Ghana, or all provinces in Ghana. We were recently adjudged the best bank in Ghana in 2017, and we are proud of what we've achieved. We're looking at currently having the staff strength of 1,800 in all space of operations. We are into, as I said, a commercial bank, but we are also very mindful of all aspects of banking. So we do retail banking, we do corporate banking, and in 2013 we introduced financial inclusion and agency banking as part of our selling proposition and as part of our effort to bring financial services to the doorstep of ordinary Ghanaians who hitherto will not have had access to finance for personal use and for business growth and personal development as well. Now, we set out as a bank with a vision to be a world-class financial institution that provides superior returns to all our stakeholders. As follows, and we seek to look at it in four key areas. We're looking at providing this kind of services to four key stakeholders. To our customer, obviously, we want Fidelity Bank to be the best place to bank. To our shareholders, the best place to invest. To our employees, the best place to work. And to our regulators, the best place to benchmark. And obviously, if you look at it, our employees are an integral part of our vision and ethos as an organization. So, why embark on this experience as a bank? For us, we believe that with our growth strategy and the way we are growing at a fast pace, we believe that there's a need to introduce a different approach to learning and also be uptime with current trends in technology. And we believe that one of the things that drives our learning strategy as an organization is influenced mostly by advancement in technology. We are also looking at the generational differences and how different generations, they learn. And it is important that you adapt your learning to suit that kind of need. We're also looking at not overloading more information to learners at any particular point in time so that they can get the best out of people. we also understand that there is always a time lapse between acquiring learning and getting the benefits out of the learning. So having your learning structured and delivered in a more profitable way will get the best out of the value that you're looking for. So we adopt the 70-20-10 approach, which argues that 70% of people learn through the day-to-day things that they do, or their work schedules or their normal job that they do. 20% of the time, people learn through interaction with people and interaction with colleagues and other partners. And then 10% of what we learn through the normal means of learning, either through the classroom or through the e-learning or online learning and other self-paced learning approaches that are there. Now, having said that, we also understand that there are different moments with which people learn. People learn either through formal means or informal means. Now, for the formal means, we believe that people want to learn new things at some point in their life. People also want to learn more or add more knowledge to what they have. The informal means people want to apply what they've learned, or learning help people to apply, solve problems, and change their environment or change the way they do things as well. Now, how do we go about our learning? Obviously, the jury is still out there as to the time to learning and the benefit that comes out of learning, which is the return on investment that every learner or every learning professional and HR professional will always be interested in. How do I get the best out of people? And it is important that you put in the structure in place to be able to get the value that you require for your learning. And we start off, as Josephine in her presentation elaborated, a certain process flow that the journey has been so far. One of the things that we have come to realize, and we summarize it in this PowerPoint slide, is that we always start our learning with a self-assessment of, or everybody must do a self-assessment of where they are at a particular point in time. And then we use online learning. You have to read certain materials online before you go into what we call a power session or a classroom or a face-to-face session to learn and unpack whatever you've learned online and be able to be guided by a facilitator at some point in time. And having done that, you are given what we call a workplace assignment, which you must go back to your various offices and apply what you have learned, giving some workplace coaching by line managers and supervisors and other colleagues, and then also be able to do a post-evaluation or post-assessment of your learning. With all this, we believe that it gives you some outcomes that one can make good use of. Our choice of Gateway Academy as a service partner in this journey has been one that was purely driven by a moment where we didn't really have much content available for us to be able to use, especially when we went into the space of financial inclusion, where we developed products and we came up with the agency banking concept, being the first to be licensed by the Central Bank of Ghana without any precedent available, without any experience available. We learned through the things that we did, making mistakes along the line, costing us, but at the same time, the benefit that came out of it has been enormous. So we don't have that experience, that content available to be able to deploy. So we were so excited that when we got in touch with, or we heard about Gateway Academy and what they were about to do, and we felt that we could partner with them from the beginning and then offer ourselves as one of the leading pioneers of the project that they were doing, so that we could get some value out of it for the whole program and also for us as individuals and also as an organization. And for us, beyond that, we think that Gateway Academy also has that experience within the financial inclusion content development or content space, especially with the various partners that they they have on board as TSPs or and then other experienced professionals. We also had and believe that there is extensive partnership that they have. Working with them means that we're going to be able to standardize quality of the models that are going to churn out from that whole experience and courses with, and be able to it also comes with some flexibility in customizing the content to suit our local need as in Ghana, and that's one of the huge advantage that anyone who partners with Gateway Academy and CGAP tends to have. Experienced team, the team we've worked with over the years, I would say are very experienced, and relationship has been one that goes beyond the work that we've been doing, and they are always available despite the time zone. The time differences, they are always available to support wherever needed. We're also looking at the possibility and also developing more certifications and models that we can customize to suit our own, especially with the partners that they have, gives some global recognition of the whole content that they deploy on it. So these are the key factors that influence predominantly our decision on going on board this journey, and we are at the very latter stage of deploying the content, having gone through the various phases, the alpha, the demo, and the beta stage, deploying the content sometime before the end of this first quarter of 2019, and then we'll be able to share with participants how the journey and the journey has been like from the learner's perspective. And then be able to take feedback and be able to go back on the drawing board with CGAP and see how best we can improve the whole journey and the whole content as well. So, ending my presentation on the final note is the opportunities that we've experienced. We've experienced good branding and branding of the content and the whole process. The Active Creator Program has also brought different perspective and experience from other organizations whose work has been, and be able to bring it back home. One of the things that we've had as an opportunity for us as Fidelity Bank is the top management support that we've received over the years from our top management, and we go all out. Management goes all out to provide the support because they understand what we are doing is for the ultimate development of our employees, and also the end result and the end final beneficiary is the organization. We're able to align the courses selection to the learning path of every role within the bank, operating within the financial inclusion space and other department, and this fits also into our business strategy. We're seeking to ensure that we're creating a e-learning center at almost all our touch points where employees can have access to learning resources available to them. We are looking at having learning clinics, which we go around the country and engage people on our learning experience, their learning experience, and be able to pick. One of the critical success factors has been the ability to pick out certain tools and content that we are looking forward to, that we can use as job aids, we can develop them internally and be able to pass on to our employees, that they can use as job aid to guide them and to help them in their work, day-to-day work as well. And obviously, there must be incentives for participants to be able to push and learn as much as they can. Obviously, on the downside, there have been challenges with it. Sometimes, even though you have top management support, you always have middle-level managers not giving you the buy-in that you require. Obviously, with our part of the world, technology is one of the technical environment is one of the challenging things that we've had, but we've been able to surmount it with investment in our technology space, and we are aiming to get more results out of the experience. local content, aside CGAP's content, there's limitation of content. So working with CGAP, we are looking forward to developing more content, not just for Fidelity Bank or for Ghana, but for other markets as well. These are some of the branding and activities that we are looking forward to deploy. You need to brand it and add it to your communication. So we've currently developed these kind of brand campaigns that will be circulating as part of the launch activities that we aim to deploy going forward. So I hope this had been useful for participants, and I'm looking forward to taking your question as well. So having said that, I'll pass on the presentation host to Penina to pick up from there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kwaku. Thank you, Josephine, for sharing your experience with us. And now we are transitioning to the last part of our webinar, where you have an opportunity to engage with the panelists. And we've got some questions, and I please want to ask you to submit any comments or questions that you have based on what you've heard so far, and maybe some other questions you may have come up with. Submit those through the chat box, which is on the right-hand side, and we'll keep taking them as they come in. And I want to first start with a question that came earlier on when we shared the course brochure. And Josephine, I'll direct this question to you. And the question is around whether the Gateway Academy courses are in French and what plans we have around that. So you can talk about, future plans, localization, and anything to do with language. So please go ahead, Josephine.
Thank you, Penina. So far the courses we have are in English, but we do have plans to move into West Africa, and we've had institutions that would want to partner with us so that we can have content in French. So watch this space. It's going to take a bit of time, but there are plans to have the content in French. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Josephine. And my next question goes to Kwaku. Kwaku, as an LNG manager, you've really shared quite a bit of what the challenges have been so far and the opportunities as well. When it comes to considerations for partners, what are your considerations as you engage specifically in digital learning?
And Penina, could you repeat the question? I lost you there briefly.
Oh, sorry about that. Yes, happy to. So you've spoken to us about some of the considerations you had in mind when you were looking at partnering with CGAP and Gateway Academy. But overall, when you're considering working with partners to offer learning solutions for your organization, what are some of the top two considerations you have in mind?
The first one that you want to look at is the experience of the partners that you want to look at. How rich are they in terms of how depth is their experience within the space of learning that you are looking to address the need? Obviously, that's an external thing that you need to look at because the experience will impact on what you have. Sometimes it is good to take a gamble of people who haven't had the experience, but what they're able to pitch out to you is also important. So sometimes it's looking at the experience, you want to look beyond the experience, but also let your intuition guide you. You also want to look at how you're going to deploy it, because having the partners on board, having the content available is one thing, but deploying, having a clear-cut strategy as to how you're going to deploy the content and then be able to get the value that you require out of it. Other than that, you will just be throwing away time and resources for no maximum benefit. So those are the two critical things that for us and from my perspective, you want to look at. Just to add a third one is that you want to look at management buy-in, because as L&D, you look at the needs of the organization and you throw in the opportunities in addressing the need. But you need top management support, because they are going to be the ones signing the checks for you to be able to spend. So if you're not able to influence top management support, you have a lot of challenges influencing the lower and middle level managers in buying into the whole experience. So those are my key areas that for me as an L&D professional I want to look at.
Great. Thank you very much, Kweku. So obviously some couple of things that are aligning with what Josephine had shared about that management and leadership support, the ability to, try out the courses and having, the solutions that align with the business needs. So thank you for that summary. And we have another question that has come from Chris. And Chris is asking whether one can demo the course content. That question, right? And the answer is absolutely. I'm going to share now the link to the Gateway Academy platform, and you will notice it has a demo at the front of the URL. Once you go to the platform, you're able to just get a glimpse of what a course would look like. And then should you wish to discuss that after you've had the try, we would be more than happy to follow up with you directly. So please let us, through the website, you're also able to contact us as well. So we have another question from Bob. Let's see, and give me a second. Okay, thank you, Bob, for your question. I'm very interested in the model that we've used for delivering content. And so, Bob, I know you have to run, but we'll be getting back in touch with you around that. But in short, in brief, Josephine, are you able to speak about how we deliver the content and the various delivery channels that we've used?
Yes. So we have, the courses are delivered in different ways. So we have those which are self-paced. For instance, the CGAP courses, whereby the participants, go into the platform and they, go through the course by themselves, but within a specific period of time. Like, for instance, if it's 3 months, not 3 months, but 6 to 8 weeks, and then they're done. And there are those that are workshop, based, whereby the participants engage online with the facilitator, and this would be, for instance, the Helix courses, whereby you have, the facilitator coming in at a specific period during the week, where you take your courses and then you contribute. There's discussions between the different participants, and then at the end of it all, you get, the facilitator, he engages in the discussion. Then at the end of it all, you get your grade based on your participation in the course. And then we have, others whereby there's a component of face-to-face learning in addition to delivery online. That's the Strathmore leadership course, whereby 90% is online and you engage with the facilitator online. Then 10%, the facilitator comes on site, to deliver, the rest of the training. So there's different modes, in the platform, and you can reach out to us, and we will be able to give you more details of how the courses are, are conducted. Thank you.
I'll direct this to Kweku. We have it from Alba, who is wondering about if you can give a little bit of context to the nature of challenges that you found in linking the training to local needs. And so, Kweku, if you can maybe speak a little bit about the other local content needs that you're learning about, that would be helpful. And Alba, I hope I've interpreted your question well, and if I haven't, kindly rephrase it. Thank you.
Okay. So thank you very much, Alba, for your question. And let me see how. Now, first of all, inclusive banking or financial inclusion, it's fairly new within Ghana. So that is one. And because the market is not there, you don't get training service providers providing content available to you, because obviously as every training service provider, I'm looking at the demand. So obviously if the industry isn't that flourishing, then demand will not be there. Therefore, that creates the lack of the content available for you to explore. So we had to now sort for content, face-to-face learning or classroom training, mostly outside the country, either to Kenya or to Southeast Asia or to South Africa, those areas. Now, with that, you can't really do scaling. You can't scale up because you have a large mass of agency bankers and financial inclusive bankers that you need to build their capacity on. So then you have to find me. So we started looking at online learning, but the online learning that we started looking at were not really, they were the standard ones or the globally standard one, but they were not customized because the local needs are totally different from a need in Ghana is totally different from a need in Kenya, but within the same space, you get some small similarities. Therefore, being able to work with CGAP to be able to influence some of the things and their content development to suit our local needs was an added bonus for us. Even though it will take time, but we felt it will be an added bonus for us. And once we have that, we'll be able to do the scaling up. So the local need isn't really much available as at the time we started inclusive banking in 2013. But now you will get pockets of it here, but it's still not that scalable in nature for the kind of work that we do. So I just hope that I've been able to answer the question, but I'm happy to look into it and happy to engage you further to see how best we can address your needs.
Thank you, Kweku. I think essentially what you're referencing is there are always opportunities to customize content depending on some of the local needs. Our next question is for you, Josephine. Thank you, Becca, for your question. And this has to do with whether the content within the Gateway Academy platform can be synced with your current LMS, or whether the users would have to go through the Gateway Academy platform. So Josephine, would you please address that?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Penina, and thank you for the question. So as it currently is right now, participants will have to go into our platform to be able to, get access to the content. But we are also, exploring and we're engaging with financial service providers who would like an additional service whereby our platform, for instance, can talk to their LMS. Then we see that as, a premium service. And therefore, when you look at our tiers approach, it would be a tier 3 service. But if it is possible for the two platforms to talk to each other, but in terms of the content, it's delivered through our platform. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Josephine. I believe those are all the questions we have so far. I still want to give that one last opportunity in case you have a final comment, thought, or question, please post it. And Josephine, while we wait that last round of questions, I want to ask you this final question. So we've learned about, obviously, what makes of good partnerships and some of the lessons and opportunities that you've both shared. But I'm wondering if you can elaborate on some barriers that you may have encountered when engaging with partners and, some few things, how you've walked through those barriers.
Thank you, Penina. Thank you for your question. Well, I think that, one of the challenges that, we've faced is to get the right partner so that there's complementarity between us and them in terms of, what it is that they want to achieve in terms of training of their staff members. And for us, what we would like to, be able to achieve through engaging with these particular partners. So sometimes it's a challenge to get a situation whereby these two can sync well, and therefore, we can be able to achieve what it is that we want to do. At times, you might also have the right partner, the right financial service provider, but you have the wrong contact person. So you would find that, for sure, that this is a partner who would, benefit from this training or benefit from engaging with us, and we would benefit from them by, demonstrating this proof of concept that, delivery through online learning is possible, but you're engaging with the wrong person. And sometimes it might not be the right person might not be the learning manager. It could be a manager who is in charge of digital financial services, because there are courses in our platform that would meet his needs. So sometimes, when there's that mismatch, it can take a long time, or you can engage with a partner, an FSP that was not the right partner, and therefore they fall, along the line. Another barrier is that, we've encountered these bureaucracies. It takes time. You might engage with a person who's not a manager, but, might be the right person, but he needs, perhaps clearance from his CEO. And that might take time because there are those structures that are in place in these different institutions. There's also bureaucracy from our side. So that also has, created, a bottleneck in terms of making sure that the partnership works seamlessly and, we meet the goals that we would like to meet. Thank you, Penina.
Who participated and provided us with really great questions to discuss. Thank you, Kweku and Josephine. So next, let me share with you briefly what you can expect from us. We will be sharing with you the webinar recording in the next week, and that will be emailed to you in the same email that you used to register. I also want to welcome you to the Gateway Academy website. Once you're there, you are able to download the brochure that sent earlier, try out a demo course, as somebody had already asked about, and also to subscribe to our newsletter, and that way we can keep in touch with you. I also want to point out that we have 2 more webinars planned within the series. I'd mentioned that earlier in November of last year, we had looked at the supply side of partners that we're working with. We featured a training service provider that was a Strathmore Business School. Today, we've talked about the demand side, and Kweku has helped us appreciate what it's like to partner on the financial service provider side. And coming up in February, we will be talking to a consortium of partners who've been supporting Gateway Academy from the technology platform development side. So I want to welcome you in advance to that, and we'll be announcing the date and open the registration shortly. And then in March, we'll be also having a conversation with partners who've guided monitoring, evaluation, and learning side. And that's coming to us in March. So just in case you missed the supply side webinar, I'm going to post this link for you to visit at your convenience. That's the recording from our last session. And want to just highlight that the website for Gateway Academy is as you see it on the screen. And should you have any particular questions, feel free to reach out to us at any time via any of the contacts on the website. We really want to thank each one of you for your time, your presence, your engagement, and thank you very much to Josephine and Kweku for taking time to share their expertise and their experiences to date with us. Again, thank you very much from everyone on our side, and we look forward to having you at a future session.